Hi, this is Abe from Movies with Abe, and I'm thrilled to be here today with Deepti Gupta, the star of India Sweets and Spices, making its premiere this week at the Tribeca Film Festival. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm really great. It's great to be here in New York.
That's wonderful. Can you tell me what attracted you to this film and to this role?
The role, you know, uh, growing up in India, I didn't really have a lot of role models. The only two women I can think of at the time when I was growing up was Indira Gandhi, who was the prime minister at the time, and Kiran Bedi, who was like the only female police officer who you would hear stories of she's caught all these bad guys. But around me, there were not a lot of role models, women. I mean, we're still in a patriarchal society, but I feel like back then it was more so. And so for me in playing Bhairavi, it just felt like here was an opportunity to play someone who is not afraid to be who she is, despite the pressures around or the kind of the peer pressure, so to say, of to be somebody else, to behave this way or that way. But I love that I'm able to hold on to my values in the film despite what's going on.
Yeah, I think this film does a wonderful job of subverting expectations, that it begins and you pick everybody's version of a stereotype, and then it sort of evolves beyond that. But I'm curious if you think that that is a difficult line to navigate, where you want to portray what may be seen as stereotypes, but then challenge them over the course of the film also.
I think that Geeta does a good job of, like you said, navigating that line. And for me, what excites me about India Sweets and Spices is that we are able to look past the stereotypes. Like we're able to pull the veneer off and see who the people are. And I feel like that's the challenge with stereotypes a lot. They're real, like their stereotypes exist because there's some reality behind them. But there's another reality behind why that became a stereotype. And I feel like we never get to that. And the film does a great job of helping us delve into that. It is definitely not easy. I think there's a lot of representation of South Asian aunties and moms right now in American media, especially, that keeps portraying them in a very stereotypical way. And I'm personally tired of it. So for me to get to play this part just was like, oh, yes, because I want to change that narrative of the stereotypical South Asian mom or South Asian auntie. Not that that's all I play, but.
How do you think that the industry is doing overall? Is this film really an outlier, or are there other projects and TV shows that might be sort of working in the right direction?
Well, I think things are moving. How the pace of at which this industry moves sometimes can be surprisingly slow. But just yesterday, AT&T and Tribeca announced a $1 million prize for the film Land of Gold with Nardeep Khurmi and Kirtana Shastri. And, they are going to make a feature film that's going to premiere next year at Tribeca. And here's a group of South Asian team, writers, directors, producers, who are going to create something. I don't know what the film is necessarily, but I feel like when we have storytellers who come from backgrounds that we haven't heard stories from, it's very important. And I feel like India Sweets and Spices is just one version of the vast diaspora that I am a part of. And we need more stories to help us understand what the full scope of the diaspora is, so that we can help move away from the stereotypes. But because there's only the 1 in 100 stories that's South Asian, then we stay stuck with those same stereotypes.
Right. How do you feel about the film's title? Do you think that sets up audience expectations properly?
It's interesting. The film used to be called something else before. And I'm not sure what the thought process was behind the naming that it is India Sweets and Spices. But because there's, stores with the same name as well in the US. But for me, I think the title indicates kind of the sweet that exists in the film and the spicy that exists in the film. And for me, I just always crave, when I can mix the sweet and spicy together, just personally. So for me, the title kind of plays and works like that.
I like that. That's great. What would you say was the most difficult part of making this film for you?
For me, Well, I grew up in India. I've watched Manisha Koirala in films, and who plays Alia's mom, and Adil Hussain. I just fell in love with his work when he worked with Devi in the film English Winglish. So to have the opportunity to work with these two, to share a screen with them, I was nervous and excited at the same time. But they are just genuinely good human beings, and I've become friends with them. And it just um, sometimes one can get starstruck, and thankfully with the work and my own work and just the way they are, the two of them, it helped me to just kind of dip into what I needed to do instead of worry about who's a star and who's not.
What was the mood like on set? Was this a really fun film to make?
Yeah. I mean, Geeta is an incredible director. Her ability to stay calm and composed no matter what's going on. I mean, we have, scenes where there's a lot of people, and to manage all of that and get everything done in a time, she was incredible on set. And I feel like it's the director who sets the tone. And I knew she was, filmmaking is not easy, and I knew she was worried about certain things, but she never let that impact the environment on set. And there was just always a sense of family. And I remember my first day on set, the catering company that they'd hired, they had a table set up with hand sanitizer and this and that, and then they had a little plaque that said "blessed." And just like small things like that, I feel like really do create an environment and impact everybody's mood as they're coming on to the set to work.
Yeah, you've done a lot of TV work. How
I have.
is film different for you, and do you prefer one over the other?
I do. I love films. I love to be able to tell a full story dramatically in one go and have that catharsis that you can experience with a film, and leave with the satisfaction of a story. And TV has its own charm. TV kind of does, where characters become your pals and you're seeing them every week, and that's a different experience. But as an actor, I love doing films.
Well, you're in a great place because you're at the Tribeca Film Festival.
Yay!
Did you expect when you started making this film that this was going to end up here? And how does it feel to be there in person?
Oh my God. I mean, no, how I got this part was also pretty last minute. So for me, it was just like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And it took me a while to understand the scope of the film. And Tribeca was just like, it's incredible. Tribeca is celebrating 20 years this year, and I'm celebrating 20 years of being in the US. So it just feels like incredible to be here with the film.
That's great. And how do you think it's going to go? Do you think that they're going to be like, is it going to be weird? Have you been back in a movie theater anytime recently?
I haven't. And I have to say, being in New York with so many people, some have masks up and some have masks down. It's definitely a shock to the system, and you have to get used to it. And the plane flying here was full, and I was like, oh, are we already doing full planes? Like, I'm not ready for that. But I am looking forward to, I mean, Tribeca is doing a great job of creating pods, and how they're doing the in-person screenings. They're being very cautious and careful. So I'm not worried. I am excited to see the film with an audience, just to experience the film through them and their reactions and responses to it.
Absolutely. That's very exciting. Do you have any other projects lined up for the future?
I do. I narrate audiobooks as well. So I have a couple of audiobooks lined up. And this fall, I think, Netflix has a new show coming out called Ghee Happy. It's a kids animation show. And I did that. So hopefully that'll be sometime. And then I got to do the Kung Fu Panda TV animation series that should be coming out this fall, I think. Or, things in production, I don't understand. Post-production takes forever. So that'll be exciting. It'll be with Jack Black playing Poe. So I'm excited and looking forward to that.
Great. Well, that sounds really wonderful. I hope you have a great time at the Tribeca Film Festival and that the film goes over really well. Everybody watching should make sure to see India Sweets and Spices, which premieres at Tribeca this week.
Yes, and you can watch it at home starting June 13th for like a 10-day period.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much and best of luck.
Thank you so much, Abe. Nice talking to you.
You too. Take care.
Bye.